What if the difficult situation you're facing isn't destroying you, but revealing how much control you have over yourself? Because the hardest moments in life don't ask, "Are you strong?" They ask something far more uncomfortable. Can you remain yourself when everything around you is falling apart? That is where the Stoic mindset begins. The problem: when life stops going your way. There are moments when life feels completely unfair. You lose something you desperately wanted. Someone disappoints you. Someone insults you. A relationship changes. Money becomes tight. Your plans collapse. Your efforts produce nothing. You work hard, and someone else gets the reward. You stay loyal, someone walks away. You remain patient, and life seems to become even more difficult. And perhaps the most painful part isn't even the situation itself. It's the conversation happening inside your head. Why me? What if everything goes wrong? What will people think? What if I fail? What if I can't fix this? What if this never gets better? The human mind has a strange habit. When reality becomes uncertain, the mind tries to create certainty by imagining the worst. One problem becomes 10. One rejection becomes a story about your entire worth. One failure becomes an identity. One bad day becomes, "My life is falling apart." This is where suffering becomes larger than the original problem. The event happens once, but your mind can replay it 1,000 times. Seneca understood this psychological trap. He wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that. Sometimes the event hurts you once, but your thoughts hurt you repeatedly. The Stoics weren't teaching people to become emotionless. They were teaching something much more powerful. Don't allow your first emotional reaction to become your final decision. That distinction can change your life, because difficulty is unavoidable, but becoming mentally defeated by difficulty is not. The first Stoic question: when something goes wrong, most people immediately ask, "How do I make this stop?" The Stoic asks, "What part of this belongs to me?" That question creates space between the event and your reaction. Imagine someone insults you. The insult has already happened. You cannot reach backward through time and erase the words. But you still have choices. You can argue. You can shout. You can obsess. You can spend the entire night thinking about it. Or you can decide that their words do not deserve control over your inner world. Epictetus built much of his philosophy around this distinction. He taught that some things are within our control and others are not. Your judgments, your choices, your actions, your response, these belong to you. Other people's opinions, their behavior, the past, unexpected events, the final outcome, these do not completely belong to you. This sounds simple, but practicing it is difficult, because human beings naturally want control over everything. We want people to understand us. We want people to respect us. We want our plans to work. We want the future to behave exactly as we imagined. But life doesn't sign that agreement. Life doesn't promise you that people will be fair. Life doesn't promise that your plans will succeed. Life doesn't promise that everyone will appreciate your effort. And every time you demand that life obey your expectations, you create another opportunity for disappointment. The Stoic mindset changes the demand. Instead of saying, "Life must go according to my plan," you say, "I will give my best effort regardless of the outcome." That is freedom, the circle of control. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're preparing for an important opportunity. You study, you practice, you prepare, you give everything you have, but you don't get selected. Your mind immediately says, "I failed." The Stoic says, "Did you actually fail at everything?" No. Perhaps the outcome wasn't yours, but your preparation was. Your discipline was. Your effort was. Your character was. Your response is still yours. This doesn't mean pretending the rejection doesn't hurt. It means refusing to let rejection become your identity. You can say, "I wanted this. I didn't get it. It hurts. Now what can I learn, and what can I do next?" That's strength. Not pretending. Not denial. Not fake positivity. Acceptance followed by action. This is one of the most powerful Stoic habits. Separate the event from the story you tell yourself about the event. The event: they rejected me. The story: I'm worthless. The event: someone criticized me. The story: nobody respects me. The event: my business failed. The story, I'll never succeed. The event, someone left. The story, I'll always be alone. The Stoic learns to challenge the second part, because the mind often adds conclusions that reality never actually gave you. Don't add a second wound. Marcus Aurelius faced war, political pressure, illness around him, betrayal, loss, and the enormous responsibility of ruling an empire. Yet his writings repeatedly return to the same principle. Your mind has a role in determining how much additional suffering you create. Imagine falling and injuring your knee. That is the first wound. Then imagine staring at the injury and thinking, "This always happens to me. My life is terrible. Nothing ever works. Why can't life just be fair?" That mental spiral becomes the second wound. The Stoic doesn't deny the first wound. The Stoic refuses to deliberately create the second. You will experience pain, but pain doesn't have to become permanent psychological suffering. You will experience disappointment, but disappointment doesn't have to become bitterness. You will experience failure, but failure doesn't have to become identity. You will experience loss, but loss doesn't have to destroy your ability to live. This is emotional discipline. And emotional discipline doesn't mean, "I don't feel anything." It means, "I feel it, but I choose what happens next." The pause. One of the simplest Stoic practices is also one of the hardest. Pause. Before replying. Before sending the angry message. Before making the decision. Before assuming the worst. Before attacking. Pause. Why? Because emotion is fast. Wisdom is slower. Someone says something offensive. Your nervous system reacts. Your heart rate rises. Your muscles tense. Your mind searches for a response. And suddenly you say something you regret. But if you create even a few seconds of space, you introduce choice. Ask, what response will I respect tomorrow? Not, what response will make me feel powerful for the next 10 seconds? That question is incredibly important. Anger often wants immediate satisfaction. Wisdom wants long-term peace. Your ego wants to win the argument. Your character wants to remain intact. The Stoic chooses character. When someone disrespects you, few things test the Stoic mindset like disrespect. Someone mocks you. Someone talks behind your back. Someone deliberately provokes you. Someone tries to make you feel small. Your instinct may be, "I need to teach them a lesson." But ask yourself, what lesson are you teaching if their behavior controls yours? If someone behaves badly, and you become cruel because of them, they didn't merely insult you. They influenced your character. That is too expensive a price to pay. Epictetus emphasized that people are disturbed not simply by events, but by the judgments they make about those events. So when someone insults you, try this. Instead of asking, "How dare they?" ask, "Is there anything useful in this?" If there is truth in the criticism, learn. If there is no truth, release it. Either way, you win, because you didn't surrender your peace. Remember, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Some battles are beneath your attention. Some people don't deserve an explanation. Some situations don't deserve your emotional energy. Silence can be discipline. Walking away can be strength. And refusing to become the person who hurt you can be one of your greatest victories. When life feels unfair, sometimes the problem isn't another person. Sometimes life itself seems unfair. You did everything right, and still things went wrong. This is where Stoicism becomes more than motivational advice. Because Stoicism never promised that life would be fair. It teaches you to build a character that doesn't depend on fairness. You cannot always control what happens, but you can control whether difficulty makes you bitter or wiser. Think about a tree in a storm. The tree doesn't negotiate with the wind. It doesn't scream, "This shouldn't be happening." It bends. It holds. It adapts. And when the storm passes, it remains. Be like that. Not rigid. Resilient. There's a difference. A rigid person says, "Life must happen my way." A resilient person says, "Whatever happens, I will find a way to meet it." That is the Stoic mindset. The obstacle becomes training. A famous idea. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think about that. The obstacle isn't always separate from the path. Sometimes the obstacle is the path. You want patience? Life gives you difficult people. You want courage? Life gives you uncertainty. You want discipline? Life gives you temptation. You want resilience? Life gives you adversity. You want wisdom? Life gives you mistakes. This doesn't mean you should seek suffering unnecessarily. It means when suffering arrives, don't waste it. If you have a difficult boss, practice patience. If you have criticism, practice humility. If you face uncertainty, practice courage. If someone rejects you, practice self-respect. If plans fail, practice adaptability. The difficulty becomes your training ground, and suddenly you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin asking, "What is this training me to become?" That question changes everything. The mindset of Amor Fati. There is a powerful Stoic-inspired idea often associated with the phrase Amor Fati, love of fate. It doesn't mean loving every painful event. It means refusing to waste your life wishing reality had been different. You cannot change yesterday. You cannot rewrite the conversation. You cannot undo the mistake. You cannot force someone to stay. You cannot make the past apologize. But you can decide what you do with what happened. Imagine your life as a book. You may hate one chapter, but you don't burn the entire book. You turn the page, and you write the next chapter better. Your past can be evidence of pain, or it can become evidence of growth. The choice is not always easy, but exists. Stop predicting disaster. During difficult situations is catastrophic thinking. Something small happens, and the mind predicts an entire future. You make one mistake. Your mind says, "I'll ruin everything." You experience one setback. Your mind says, "Nothing will ever work." Someone doesn't reply. Your mind says, "They hate me," but you don't know. You're predicting. The Stoic mindset asks, "What do I actually know right now?" Not what might happen. Not what you're afraid will happen. What do you know? This question brings you back to reality. Maybe the situation is difficult. Fine. Deal with the facts. One fact at a time. One decision at a time. One day at a time. You don't need to solve your entire future tonight. You only need to make the next wise move. Negative visualization. The Stoics practiced a technique often described as negative visualization. It sounds pessimistic, but psychologically, it can create gratitude and resilience. Imagine losing something you currently take for granted. Your freedom, your time, your relationships, your opportunities, your health, your ability to walk outside, your ability to speak to someone you love. Not to frighten yourself, but to recognize the value of what already exists. The Stoic tries to appreciate before loss forces appreciation. Look around your life. Some ordinary thing you're ignoring today may become something you desperately wish you had tomorrow. So appreciate it now. Not because everything is perfect, but because nothing is guaranteed. This doesn't make you weaker. It makes you present. The four virtues. For central virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. When life becomes difficult, use these as your compass. Wisdom. Ask, what is actually happening? Separate facts from assumptions. Courage. Ask, what must I do even though I'm afraid? Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Justice. Ask, what is the right thing to do, even when doing the right thing is inconvenient? Temperance. Ask, what desire or emotion needs discipline? Because not every impulse deserves obedience. Visual. For words appearing one by one. These virtues create a framework for difficult situations. When confused, choose wisdom. When afraid, choose courage. When tempted to act selfishly, choose justice. When emotionally overwhelmed, choose temperance. You don't need to control the world. You need a compass. When you feel like giving up, there will be moments when you don't feel strong. That's normal. The Stoic mindset does not require you to feel invincible every morning. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed. Sometimes strength looks like doing one necessary task. Sometimes strength looks like refusing to send a message. Sometimes strength looks like asking for help. Sometimes strength looks like resting instead of escaping. Never confuse exhaustion with failure. A tired person doesn't necessarily need motivation. Sometimes they need recovery. So if you're in a difficult season, stop demanding that you become a completely different person overnight. Build strength through small acts. Wake up. Make the bed. Take the walk. Do the work. Keep your promise. Control your words. Control your spending. Control your attention. Go to sleep. Repeat. Created in dramatic moments. It is built through ordinary decisions repeated for years. Don't negotiate with your emotions. Your emotions are information. They're not always instructions. Fear says, run. You can ask, should I? Anger says, attack. You can ask, will that help? Sadness says, nothing matters. You can ask, is that actually true? Anxiety says, something terrible is coming. You can ask, what evidence do I have? This is emotional intelligence. You don't have to hate your emotions. You don't have to suppress them. You listen, then you decide. Think of emotions as passengers in a car. They can speak, they can complain, they can scream, but they don't necessarily get the steering wheel. The Stoic response to failure. Failure can feel personal, but failure is an event, not a permanent identity. You failed at something. That does not mean, I am a failure. The difference is enormous. A Stoic examines failure like a scientist. What happened? What did I control? What did I misunderstand? What can I improve? What should I stop doing? What should I repeat? This turns failure into information, and information is valuable. Imagine two people making the same mistake. One says, I'm stupid. The other says, interesting. I now know what doesn't work. The first person attacks their identity. The second person collects data. Who is more likely to improve? Exactly. Failure becomes dangerous when you turn it into a verdict. It becomes useful when you turn it into feedback. When people don't understand you. One of the hardest experiences is being misunderstood. You know your intentions. Someone else sees only your actions. You explain. They still don't understand. You explain again. They still judge you. At some point, you have to accept something. You cannot control another person's interpretation of you. You can communicate clearly. You can behave with integrity. You can correct a misunderstanding when appropriate. But you cannot enter someone else's mind and rearrange their beliefs. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself to focus on his own character rather than the opinions of others. This is freedom. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need to understand yourself. You need to know, did I act honestly? Did I treat people fairly? Did I do my part? If the answer is yes, release the rest. Not everyone deserves access to your peace. The power of silence. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence means, I refuse to become emotionally controlled by this. You don't have to answer every accusation. You don't have to defend yourself against every rumor. You don't have to correct every stranger. You don't have to win every argument. Your attention is a limited resource. Spend it carefully. Imagine every unnecessary argument costs you 1 coin. Every angry reply costs another. Every hour spent obsessing about someone's opinion costs another. Eventually, you realize your peace was expensive and you were giving it away for free. Protect your attention. It is one of the most valuable possessions you have. Control your attention. In the modern world, attention is constantly attacked. Notifications, arguments, news, social media, comparison, drama, other people's achievements, other people's opinions, other people's lives. And then we wonder why our minds feel exhausted. The Stoic asks, what deserves my attention? Not everything deserves an answer. Not everything deserves research. Not everything deserves emotional energy. Your attention is like sunlight. Whatever you repeatedly shine it on grows in your mind. If you constantly stare at problems, fear grows. If you constantly compare yourself, insecurity grows. If you constantly consume outrage, anger grows. But if you focus on meaningful work, discipline grows. If you focus on gratitude, appreciation grows. If you focus on virtue, character grows. Guard your attention, because where attention goes, life follows. When the future is uncertain, uncertainty is uncomfortable because the mind hates incomplete information. We want guarantees. Will it work? Will they stay? Will I succeed? Will everything be okay? But life rarely gives guarantees. The Stoic doesn't demand certainty before taking action. The Stoic prepares for uncertainty. You don't know exactly what tomorrow will bring, but you can decide what kind of person will meet tomorrow. That is enough. If tomorrow brings success, stay humble. If tomorrow brings failure, stay resilient. If tomorrow brings praise, stay grounded. If tomorrow brings criticism, stay thoughtful. If tomorrow brings opportunity, act. If tomorrow brings difficulty, endure. You don't need to know the future. You need to prepare your character. Memento mori. The Stoics often reflected on mortality. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. At first, that sounds dark, but its purpose can be strangely liberating. Because remembering that your time is limited changes what you consider important. Would you really spend another 3 hours obsessing over someone who doesn't respect you? Would you waste another day proving yourself to strangers? Would you spend your limited life replaying a conversation from 5 years ago? Your time is not infinite. Your attention is not infinite. Your energy is not infinite. So use them deliberately. When you remember that life is temporary, small problems often become smaller, and meaningful things become more meaningful. A conversation with someone you love, a quiet morning, honest work, a moment of laughter, a chance to improve, a chance to begin again. These are not ordinary. They are your life. If you want this philosophy to change your life, you need practice. Try beginning your day with 5 questions. Question 1. What is within my control today? Write down 3 things. Question 2. What could challenge me today? Don't fear it. Prepare for it. Question 3. How do I want to behave? Choose your character before the situation tests it. Question 4. What deserves my attention? Everything else can wait. Question 5. What would make today meaningful? Then begin. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need intentionality. The Stoic evening review. At night, review the day. Seneca described a practice of examining his day and reflecting on his actions. Ask yourself, where did I lose control? Where did I act with courage? Where did anger control me? Where did I waste attention? Where did I act with integrity? What can I improve tomorrow? Don't use reflection to punish yourself. Use it to train yourself. You are not trying to become perfect. You are trying to become slightly wiser than yesterday. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One response at a time. That is how character is built. Stop asking life to be easy. Stop making an easy life your definition of a good life. An easy life can produce comfort, but difficulty can produce depth. A person who has never faced resistance may not know their strength. A person who has never experienced uncertainty may not know their courage. A person who has never lost may not understand gratitude. A person who has never failed may not understand resilience. Again, this doesn't mean suffering is automatically good. It means suffering can become useful. The question is not, can I avoid every difficult situation? You can't. The question is, can I become a kind of person who handles difficult situations with wisdom? That is a better goal. The mountain metaphor. Imagine standing at the bottom of a mountain. You look up. The peak seems impossible, but you don't climb the entire mountain in one step. You take one step, then another, then another. Difficult life situations are similar. Don't ask, how will I survive the next 10 years? Ask, what is the next right action? Make the phone call. Have the conversation. Do the work. Apologize. Set the boundary. Save the money. Study the lesson. Take the walk. Rest. Begin again. One step, then another. The mountain is conquered through ordinary steps. So is adversity. When you lose someone, loss is one of life's deepest teachers. Sometimes someone leaves. Sometimes a relationship ends. Sometimes a person dies. Sometimes the version of a relationship you knew simply disappears. Stoicism doesn't ask you to stop loving. It asks you to remember that everything in life is temporary. That knowledge should not make love weaker. It can make love more intentional. Appreciate people while they're here. Say what needs to be said. Forgive where forgiveness is appropriate. Spend time with those who matter. And when loss comes, grieve. Don't pretend you don't hurt. Stoicism isn't emotional numbness. It is emotional courage. You can feel grief deeply without allowing grief to convince you that your life is over. You carry the memory. You continue living. And you allow the love to become part of your character. Boundaries are also Stoic. Stoicism does not mean allowing everyone to treat you however they want. Acceptance doesn't mean passivity. You can accept that someone behaves badly and still walk away. You can accept that someone doesn't respect you and stop giving them access. You can accept that a relationship is unhealthy and set a boundary. The Stoic question is, what is the wise response? Sometimes the answer is patience. Sometimes it's conversation. Sometimes it's distance. Sometimes it's saying, no. A calm boundary is not revenge. It is self-governance. Don't seek revenge. Revenge feels powerful because it gives the mind a temporary sense of justice. But revenge keeps you emotionally connected to the person who hurt you. You continue thinking about them, planning against them, watching them, waiting for their downfall. Meanwhile, they are living their life, and you're still giving them space in your mind. The better revenge is not destruction. It is becoming so disciplined, peaceful, and focused that their behavior no longer controls your direction. Let consequences belong to life. Let your energy belong to your future. Your character is the real victory. One loses control. The other remains calm. The external situation is identical, but internally, they experienced completely different outcomes. That is the hidden power of Stoicism. You don't always control the battlefield, but you can control how you enter it. You don't control every challenge, but you can control your character. And character is what remains when circumstances change. Money can disappear. Status can disappear. Popularity can disappear. People can leave. Plans can fail. But wisdom can remain. Courage can remain. Discipline can remain. Integrity can remain. That is why the Stoics focused so heavily on virtue. Because external things can be taken. Character must be built from within. When something difficult happens, use this simple reset. Step 1, stop. Don't react immediately. Step 2, breathe. Give your nervous system a moment. Step 3, name the fact. What actually happened? Step 4, separate control. What belongs to me? What doesn't? Step 5, choose the virtue. Do I need wisdom, courage, justice, temperance? Step 6, act. Take the smallest useful action. This can take less than a minute, but practiced repeatedly, it can transform the way you handle life. When everything goes wrong, imagine the worst day. Your plans fail. Someone disappoints you. Money becomes uncertain. You receive terrible news. Your confidence disappears. And for a moment, you think, I can't handle this. Maybe you don't need to handle everything. Maybe you only need to handle the next thing. Drink water. Take a breath. Make the call. Write down the facts. Ask for help. Solve what can be solved. Accept what cannot. Sleep. Wake up. Continue. Strength doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes strength is simply, I am still here, and I will take the next step. 3 Stoic lessons to remember. If you forget everything in this video, remember these 3 lessons. Lesson 1. Control your response. You cannot command the world. You can command your choices. You cannot control another person's behavior. You can control your behavior. You cannot control the past. You can control what you do now. Your response is your territory. Protect it. Lesson 2. Use the obstacle. When difficulty arrives, don't immediately ask, how do I escape this? Ask, what can this teach me? Every difficult person can teach patience. Every failure can teach adaptation. Every uncertainty can teach courage. Every loss can teach appreciation. Every setback can teach resilience. Don't waste the lesson. Lesson 3. Protect your inner world. Your peace is not something other people should control. Protect your attention. Protect your values. Protect your time. Protect your character. Not by becoming cold, but by becoming disciplined. A Stoic response to common difficulties. When someone rejects you, their decision is outside my control. My character is not. When someone insults you, their words belong to them. My response belongs to me. When you fail, this is information, not identity. When you lose, I can grieve without surrendering my future. When you're afraid, fear is present. Courage can be present too. When you're angry, I will not make a permanent decision from a temporary emotion. When you're uncertain, I don't need certainty to take the next wise step. When life feels unfair, I cannot control fairness. I can control integrity. When someone leaves, I can appreciate what was without demanding that it remain. When you feel overwhelmed, one problem, one action, one moment, the Stoic identity. Eventually, Stoicism stops being something you read. It becomes something you practice. You stop saying, I need to become calm. You start practicing calm. You stop saying, I need to become disciplined. You keep your promises. You stop saying, I need confidence. You do difficult things despite uncertainty. You stop saying, I need everyone to respect me. You respect yourself enough to live according to your principles. Your identity changes. You become the person who pauses, the person who thinks, the person who doesn't collapse under criticism, the person who doesn't become arrogant under praise, the person who doesn't surrender after failure, the person who doesn't need perfect circumstances to live well. That is the Stoic. You are not your circumstances. Your circumstances are part of your life. They are not the total definition of your life. You can be broke and still have dignity. You can fail and still have character. You can be rejected and still have worth. You can be criticized and still know your values. You can be alone and still build yourself. You can be afraid and still act courageously. This is important. Don't confuse what is happening around you with who you are inside. Storms happen outside. Character is built inside. Imagine that tomorrow everything becomes difficult. Your patience will be tested. Your plans will be challenged. Someone will misunderstand you. Something unexpected will happen. You will feel fear. You will feel anger. You will feel disappointment. The question isn't whether you will feel these things. You probably will. The question is, who will you become while feeling them? Will you become reactive or deliberate, bitter or wiser, broken or trained, controlled or self-controlled? That is the real battlefield, not outside you, inside you. Repeat this silently to yourself. I will not demand that life become easy. I will become stronger at meeting difficulty. I will not waste energy controlling what cannot be controlled. I will focus on what belongs to me. I will not allow another person's behavior to dictate my character. I will pause before reacting. I will learn from failure. I will accept what has already happened. I will act where action is possible. I will remain patient where patience is required. I will walk away when walking away is wise. I will protect my attention. I will remember that my time is limited. And when difficulty arrives, I will not ask, why me? I will ask, what is required of me now? That question can change a life. The final message. Maybe you're watching this because life is difficult right now. Maybe nobody knows how much you're carrying. Maybe you're smiling around people while fighting battles inside your own mind. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to control something that refuses to change. If that's you, listen carefully. You don't have to solve your entire life today. You don't have to know exactly what happens next. You don't have to become fearless. You don't have to pretend that it doesn't hurt. You only need to reclaim the part of yourself that still belongs to you. Your judgment, your choices, your actions, your character. Start there. If someone leaves, let them leave without taking your dignity with them. If someone insults you, don't let their words become your identity. If you fail, learn. If you lose, grieve. If you are afraid, move anyway. If the future is uncertain, take the next step. And if life knocks you down, stand up slowly. You don't need to prove that you are unbreakable. You need to prove that you can rebuild. But keeps learning. A mind that understands. I may not control what happens next, but I can control who I become because of it. And perhaps that is the ultimate Stoic victory. Not defeating the world, not controlling other people, not avoiding suffering, but becoming so grounded within yourself that life can change around you without destroying who you are. Control your response. Use the obstacle. Protect your character. And keep moving forward. Because the goal was never to create a life without storms. The goal was to become the person who can walk through them. Anima Forte. Build the mind. Strengthen the character. Live with purpose. If this message helped you see difficulty differently, subscribe to Anima Forte for more Stoic philosophy, psychology, and practical lessons for building an unshakable mind. Your circumstances may be difficult. Your response is still yours. Choose wisely.